Verzeo. Learn here, lead anywhere. Subscribe to our Verzeo channel and tap the bell icon to receive all notifications. Download the Verzeo app and get free content access.
A very good morning, everyone. I hope your Sunday's morning going really well. So in today's sessions, we would like to discuss about the GMAT tips, what you need to take care of before you give the GMAT. So, and I would like to introduce you our speaker today, who is Prashant Saxena, who has scored 713 GMAT and have graduated from University of Notre Dame, which is one of the best top school in our in USA, and also the very good QS ranking all over the world. So I think before going ahead, I would just like to introduce you, Prashant Saxena. Hi, Prashant Saxena. Very good morning.
Hey, hi everyone. Great to connect with everyone and happy to share my experience.
That's really great, and thank you so much for attending us today. So, can you tell us something about your background exactly from your point of view, like what exactly you have gone through with, and yeah.
Sure. I can give everyone my background. I would assume everyone joining the meeting is also looking to prepare for the GMAT. So I'm originally from Noida, which is obviously, as you all know, just next to Delhi. I did my undergrad in computer science and engineering from Noida. I graduated from JP Institute of Information Technology. Initially, I started off my career since obviously I was in computer science. So really I had a typical IT profile. So I initially started off my career as a QA engineer, software tester with a small software testing startup. Really, I worked with them for about a year and a half. Got good exposure by that. And then eventually I got the opportunity to work with a firm in Gurgaon called Nagaro. I was again in the role of a QA engineer and eventually moved into the role more of that of a business analyst. But it was at that time I realized that I really wanted to get an MBA. I mean, obviously, pursuing an MBA was something I always thought of, but initially I was trying in Indian schools, but I realized that was not something I really wanted to pursue. And eventually I decided I really wanted to go abroad. US was my primary the country I was really targeting. And obviously to go to the US, you really need to give the GMAT and get a good score. And for someone like me who has a typical IT profile, my undergraduate academics were also not that great. They were decent, not that great. And I hadn't really worked with some really big firms like an Amazon or something like that. I'd worked with very services firm basically. So obviously I needed to make sure that my GMAT was really important. So yeah, I gave the GMAT. I got a reasonably good score. Then I gave the TOEFL. I applied to several business schools in US, Canada, and Europe. And eventually I got admits from most of the schools except barring one. And eventually I decided to come to the US and did my MBA from the University of Notre Dame. I came here in 2016, graduated in 2018. And since then I've been I initially worked with Marsh and McLennan as a VP of digital products and partnerships. And then even right now I'm working with Thomson Reuters. So um, I'm based in Minneapolis. I've been in the US for the past 5 years. So that's what like more of my background is really like, right from my graduating in 2012 and then eventually coming to the US for an MBA.
That's actually a pretty good successful journey, I would say. I just also want to know, like, what made you feel that, GMAT and MBA is, like the right path for you? Like, have you been
Mhm.
experienced or, as you were into technical background? So why do you took that MBA path, like
Sh-
totally into business, like totally into business one?
Sure,
So
sure,
I mean,
sh-
what made you feel that?
sure. So yeah, I mean, I did my undergrad in obviously computer science. So initially, I had the opportunity of moving into more of a tech role, but I realized that didn't really want to do coding, and I really wanted to be more on the business side of things. And I did apply to Indian business schools in India, um, but the ones that I went into, I realized I can do better. And what I really wanted out of my MBA was really an international experience. I didn't really want to restrict myself to India because even if you, let's say, get an MBA from an ISB or even IIM, and even only there itself, only like 0.5 to 1% of the people really get international placements. And even if they do get it, it's mostly in either in Singapore or Dubai. And what I really wanted to do was really like build a career in North America or like Western Europe. So that's why I felt that and I really wanted to pursue firstly from abroad. Getting that international experience is extremely important. And secondly, while I was in my doing my working as a QA engineer and then eventually as a business analyst, I realized that obviously working for a software services firm, you can only get limited exposure. Like if you really want to, and you only basically are working as part of any engineering team, tech team, and really the scope of responsibilities is very limited. So for me to like really have a very broad role and important role like that, either of a consultant or a product manager, I really needed to understand. I had the technical chops and understood how those problems, how can I solve those problems, but I didn't have an understanding of how sales works, how marketing works, and how these things play a very important role in product development and everything. So that's why I felt that I really needed that knowledge. I really needed that international exposure, and I felt that that was an opportune time for me to get an MBA. So that's why I felt I decided. I mean, I always knew sometime after 2011, 12 that I wanted to pursue an MBA. And I felt that I wanted to get some good work experience before I do that. So I didn't want to do an MBA without a work experience, which I don't think you can really get 100% of an MBA without work experience. So that's why I worked in India for a few years before deciding to come here.
That's actually really wonderful, to be honest. So, as you have, already had an experience, so you understand the, management theories and the techniques a little more clearer, I believe.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, yeah. So, back when you were, preparing for the GMAT, what are the challenges that you faced? Like, what are the things that, you suggest someone who's taking GMAT, and what are the things that everyone faces?
Sure. So I think obviously there are several challenges. There are different ways to tackle the GMAT. Many students or many individuals that I came across that already appeared for their GMAT in the final year of their engineering because they knew they wanted to get an MBA from abroad. That's actually a very good time because if you're in your final year of engineering, giving the GMAT, you have ample time, get a good score, then get 3 years of work experience, go to US or wherever outside, go to ISB or anything, wherever you want to go. Or and now that requires some long-term planning. If you didn't do that, the biggest challenge with dealing with the GMAT is number one, you're working. So you need to prepare while you're working. So time management is extremely important and difficult. Number one. Number two is dealing with really the verbal section of the GMAT, especially for Indians, it's very tricky. You and I'll be the first time I gave the GMAT, like I took a GMAT prep test without any kind of preparation. I didn't know what the GMAT was all about, what kind of questions that I are asked, what is it all about, just to see what's my level. And when I took that test, I got like a 490 on the GMAT prep exam. So I knew obviously I was terrible. So I needed to understand specifically how to prepare, especially on the verbal section, because that's the one that everyone makes a lot of noise about, that this is extremely difficult. And especially even obviously since we're not native English speakers. Um, so yeah, that is another challenge that one has to tackle. And obviously third, another one for me was um, my record in like competitive exams has been decent. I mean, I wasn't that great. So obviously overcoming that was that, okay, this is like really the final one I need to give. And this is really for the final degree I want to take. So that's why that was another thing. Keeping yourself motivated is another thing that you want to make sure was one of the challenges that I came
Right.
across, and really finding that time to make sure you're working hard. So yeah, these were the 3, 4 challenges I would say I really faced during the time I was preparing for the GMAT.
Okay, so I just want to understand from your point of view, like when the GMAT preparation is, takes a lot of time for
Mhm,
6 months at least.
mhm,
So, what do you? I mean, what did you? How did you like stay motivated all through your like GMAT training process? Like, how did you,
mhm.
okay, this is what I want to do, or how did you, took some any kind of this thing or?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the way I went about it was really to keep myself motivated was like I was really looking that I wanted to see myself get an MBA from a very good business school, and I really wanted to build that. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. It's perfect now, Prashant. I'm so sorry for that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was just saying like what really kept me motivated was that that really I knew that this is the final degree I want to get in my career, and this is what will decide the direction of my career. So it was extremely important. And if I really wanted to move beyond what I'm doing right now, it is extremely important that I give my best uh, for this. That was something very important, and that's what really motivated me. That okay, if I want to build a career in the US, the GMAT is the pathway for me to do that. So that's why. That was the main reason, main I would say source of motivation for me.
Right, right, got it. Got it. So, as getting a GMAT score of 730, how hard
Mm.
is to achieve it? Like, how was your preparation level, and how many days how many days and time hours of a day you would,
Mhm.
dedicate your preparation for, and
Sure.
how was it exactly?
Sure. So I would say optimal the ideal thing is that what I would say you should not limit yourself that okay I want to get a 700 in 3 months or 6 months. I think that's the wrong approach to take. I would think of this as like you're basically learning, and like this is a challenge in front of you that you have to take and overcome. So the way I went about it was I really very was very much focused on the verbal section of the GMAT. So what I did was obviously I was working with a GMAT tutor, and I got really good like material which I could refer to. I gave Inish Manhattan GMAT and all those books. I referred to all those books, but I knew the verbal section is the one that's the most tricky. There's obviously sentence correction. There are 15 questions of sentence correction, 15 questions of critical reasoning, and I think there are 4 passages. So what I specifically did was number one, I think I started my preparation in October 2015. For the first month or two, it wasn't that great. I was focusing on verbal. Everything was haphazard though, because obviously you're working, you have to take out time. It's difficult. But January 2016 is when I actually really went full throttle and like started that I really need to get this thing done. So the way I went about preparing for the verbal section was number one, I would wake up every day in the morning. I tried to wake up as early as possible, like 5 a.m. because I had to go 8 a.m., 8:30 for work. I would wake up very early in the morning. I would have a good 6 to 7 hours of sleep. And the first thing in the morning I would do is do 4 GMAT passages, because I know in the real GMAT you have 4 passages that you have to solve. And though nobody can help you in this, not even a GMAT tutor can help you in this, the best way to deal with this is do 4 GMAT RC passages, reading comprehension passages every day till the time you give the exam. Every day, make it a habit, make it a part of life. That this is something we have to do every day, first thing in the morning, because that your mind is completely fresh and your comprehension is really good in the morning. And start doing it under timed conditions, like that. Okay, the real GMAT is like I forgot how many minutes was the verbal section. Is it 75 or 90 minutes? That okay, 20 minutes is what I'll give for myself to read these 4 passages and answer these questions. Initially, you'll be terrible. My accuracy was like 40%. I was right. But as I kept doing it, I kept doing it for months. I started off in January. I kept doing it. By June or July, not only was I very good with the GMAT, I took even LSAT, which is basically the law exam. I started using that as a reference and using those passages, and they are way above the GMAT. And I was getting 100% right answers there. So 6, 7 months doing 4 passages each and every day, no breaks, making sure that you're doing that. And I did the same approach with sentence correction, like understood the rules of the what sentence correction works, and really doing 15 sentence correction questions every day in timed conditions. That was something very important. I did that for sentence correction. I did that for critical reasoning. I did that for reading comprehension. And I also did the same for quant. I mean, I understand. I'll be honest. I did paid more attention to verbal than quant, but I tried to do 15 when I gave the GMAT. So 9 months every day in the morning, I would do 4 reading comprehension passages, 15 sentence correction questions, and 15 critical reasoning questions. I was literally giving a GMAT every day in timed conditions, the verbal section of the GMAT every day. After like March, April, I was doing it nearly every day. So 5, 6 months, I had literally trained my mind to. I understood, like I was so good in verbal that I could read the question and knew within the next 30 seconds what the answer is. That's how good I was eventually in verbal. So that's how I went about preparing for the verbal section. For the quant section, I didn't really pay much attention initially, but number theory is the one that you should be very much focused on. Most questions are a variation of those number theory principles. So I did okay in the verbal quant section. I did very well in the verbal section. So my score breakup was like quant 48, verbal 42. I didn't really focus much on integrated reasoning. It's not really looked into by business schools, at least at that time. And I got a reasonably good score though. You want to make sure you don't get a very bad score in it. And then for the AWA as well, I just went through a day or two earlier before the exam. I went through the format of what an essay should look like, just had it in my mind. I went there and wrote down the essay with all the trigger words in it, and I got a 6 on 6. So yeah, overall, in the very first attempt, I was able to, I got a 730.
I think that's really very good approach for the the dedication of those mini months. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good one. So can you tell us like what exactly are the things that we need to take care once the GMAT is done? As they say, the visa and the college applications, there are a lot of things that we need to really take care of. So what are the things and the tips that you can give to the students for the college application or the visa process exactly? So what are the mistakes that no one should do? So something like that. What you have realized once you've completed this.
Hi, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Mr. Prashant.
Yeah, I think I got disconnected for some reason,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So what I was asking was, what are the things that we need to take care once the
Mm-hmm,
GMAT is done? Obviously, we have a lot of procedure that we need to follow once the
mm-hmm.
everything is done and everything is in hand. So while applying for the visa and the college applications and different procedures that we need to follow. So what are the tips that you can give to the students? Like these are the things that you really compulsory take care of. Like these are the must that you need to take care of. Don't do any kind of mistakes in this kind of a process. So what do you suggest or what do you give techniques or some things shortcuts that they need to take care of or yeah.
Yeah, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Mr.
Yeah, I
Prashant.
think yeah, it sometimes breaks in between for some reason. I think
Yes,
what I understood from your question was what really do we need to take care after we give the GMAT, right?
yes, exactly.
Okay,
So
sure.
in the
So I think
process like between
sure.
yeah.
Sure. I would say one thing, like at least while you're preparing for the GMAT, like before getting a score, I would not worry much about the application process or which colleges to apply or anything like that. At least before that, at least during the time you're giving the GMAT, don't really worry about like essays and all this stuff. It's not worth it. I did not even pay attention to it because I knew I did not even, if I don't even have a score, all that is a waste of time. So once you have a score, and I would clearly say, like, if you someone who is a male and works in the IT industry, your profile is very general, even like at a 730 score. Like, I mean, that's just the reality. If you're a tech person, and if you're specifically if you're a male, it's very difficult for you. You have to differentiate your profile, so you need to have a lot of stuff done. It's I mean, say if for example, a lot of things, gender and everything comes into play while you're applying for business schools. But what I would say is the first thing is I think you would probably need to give the TOEFL exam, because Indians are required to give it and get a good score there, at least 26 in each section, 26, 27 in each section of the TOEFL, to make sure you can apply to all different colleges. And after that, you, based on your score and the strength of your profile, you should determine which colleges you should apply. The best way to do that is, let's say if you get a 750 GMAT, and if you're an Indian IT male profile, which is like a very general profile, and if let's say if you're what undergrad you did, if you're from IIT, it's a little different than if you're from another college, it may be a little different. The way you should go about it is, like, you should apply to 2 or 3 business schools where you know you will 100% make it, and then you should apply to one or two business schools at least where you know there may be a fight. You can make it, and then one maybe you can apply, like, yeah, this is like stretch, but I can certainly apply and see if I have a shot here. So 5, you should certainly apply to 5. The rest of 3 or 4 applications you can write on your own. So that's how I would suggest you go about preparing, and then you apply. You have like an interview generally with someone from the admissions council. It's generally more of a, just they want to assess what's your what your interpersonal skills are and what your prior experience is. And once that is done, they offer you like admission and depend what kind of scholarship you'll have. I will always recommend you go to the school where you're getting the best scholarship. There are people that who went on like had a similar score as me. Like there's a friend of mine who was from IIT, had a 750 GMAT. He went to school in California, and right now he has $100,000 loan on his head, and he's very worried about it. Whereas my loan is paid, and at the end we're all both making the same money. So you need to make sure you go. I would suggest always, unless if you're financially very strong, you can, like, I wouldn't say don't go to Harvard, right? If you Harvard is a different thing, but at the end you have to make the decision if the schools are similar rank. There is one school that you're getting an admit from that is just 2 or 3 spots ahead of the school, another school that's offering you a better scholarship. I would say go there, because at the end getting the best ROI is the most important. So these are really the things you need to consider. And after that you will have to go, you'll get what is called an I-20 from the school. You will use that to apply for your visa, and eventually you will go to the US embassy. And student visas are generally not rejected unless and until you're going to a very bad university, or there's something fishy about your background, or if they feel that you want to immigrate. I've heard 1 or 2 cases where people has application has been rejected, but there was some another reason for it. But otherwise, if you have a good student visas are not a problem at all. So that's how we generally move about once you've given the GMAT.
I think that's really great. So, back when you were in the college, like in the University of Notre Dame. So, how
Mhm.
was what was your like experiences and culture shocks that you have faced, or because when we see and we really don't know what exactly will be the culture over there, and
Mhm.
how others will be treating you, and what we really don't know when you're really into it. So,
Mhm.
what are the things that you have faced, and what was your experiences over there, and how exactly was it? So, yeah.
Sure. So I think, look, there are a lot of Indian students who make it to good universities here in the US. Am I audible?
Hello? Yeah, I'm so sorry, Prashant. I think we've lost you. Can you please repeat it again?
Oh, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll repeat it once again. So as I said, like there are a lot of Indian students who make it to US business schools. So you don't have to worry that you'll be like somehow like the only 1 or 2 students who are there, and don't have to worry about that. Mm, and and there are other international students. There's very strong, I would say 30 to 40% of class in most business schools in the US and international. Indians are generally the biggest contingent of international students. And hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes, Prashant. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry. I think there was some unstable internet connection.
That's really okay. We can understand that. That's okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think I've joined from my phone, so I think it should not be a problem. So yeah, I think what I was really saying was that you don't have to worry about like the cultural shocks and anything. The one thing as I was saying that you should not expect the recruitment in the US to work the way it works in India, whereas like TCX and Accenture are coming on campus and hiring a lot of students. That's not how it works here. You really need to do networking, and that's how it works. So generally, companies do come on campus. Many of them won't even be hiring international students or offering H-1B sponsorships. So you don't even need to waste your time with those firms. But the ones who do, like companies like Amazon, Deloitte, Ernst and Young, PwC, they generally sponsor McKinsey, Bain. You need to network with them separately. Amazon, not really, but other firms, certainly consulting firms. And 40 and 50 individuals from a class would apply, and eventually just 3 or 4 would be invited for the interview, and maybe just 1 or 2 individuals would eventually actually make it. So that's how recruitment works. In the US, you obviously will be working with other individuals like Americans, and there would be people from other nationalities. So you learn to collaborate, just how you would work if you were to work in an American company. You'll be working with people from different parts of the world. So that's how it generally works. And I think slowly and slowly everyone adjusts. So I would not and be nervous or anticipate any issues for anyone who comes here to do a master's, whether it's an MBA or an MS.
Okay, okay. So, Mr. Prashant, so I just wanted to know, like, I was like, very curious about it. So, when you're doing your MBA in the University of Notre Dame, which is a very good university and a top business schools, so
Mhm.
what was your, did your any kind of a part-time jobs in the side by because in India before we going over there, we just think about the part-time jobs and what are the financials
Yeah.
that I can do
Mhm.
about it. So what are the things that the student can do in the university and studying in the top business school?
Yeah, I think there are several. Look, in the first year, the way MBA or any in the first year, you cannot do any off-campus jobs. You can only work on campus. You can take a job with your library or some other things. They generally pay about $10 to $12 an hour. You can use and you can work a maximum of 20 hours per week. So depending how many hours they have, let's say if you were to take a $10 job or $8, $10, $12, whatever. Generally, if you were to work with an IT team at the university, you'll be paid more. But you can make some money. I did not do any job in my first year, but in the second year, I worked with my library where I was paid $10 an hour. That was sufficient for me to at least get $500 or $600 per month. I think depending on where you're staying. I used to live in Indiana, which is relatively cheap. $1,000 a month is very good. You'll be absolutely fine, and at least in that part of where I was doing my MBA from. But otherwise, you get opportunities as well. Like if you're doing a 2-year MBA, you get the opportunity to do a 3-month internship where most employers will pay you, of course. They'll pay you depending on where you're working. Some companies may even offer you $50 or $60 an hour. Some will mostly for MBA, they will generally certainly offer $30 to $35 an hour. You can make 15 to $20,000 in the 3 months you do your internship. And during the second year, you can also take an off-campus job, but you can only take it something that's directly related to a concentration. So if your employer offers some part-time role that you can continue working with them remotely, you may well work 20 hours a week with them. A lot of my friends have had that opportunity, and they were making like $2,000 to $3,000 every month just from part-time jobs. So they were able to sponsor a lot of what they did during the second year of their program. So yeah, I think there are ample opportunities. So but otherwise you can also take jobs on campus as well, which should not be very difficult to find.
Okay, okay, that's great. So, once you complete your MBA, so how difficult is to get a job over there in a specified specialization or something like that? Because see, one student, if first of all we'll be thinking about the university first, right? So after that, what happens? We really don't know. So if what are the things that we need to take care of in the first year itself? Like what exactly that I should take care before I'm going to the US, or what are the job opportunities after doing the MBA, and how percentage of chances are getting my job within how many months, or anything related to that, and as a rough figure, if you would suggest.
Sure. So what I would say is really depends on which area you're looking for a job. If you're looking for something like a product manager role, a consultant role, you want to get into strategy consulting, or even finance, I think you will be able to find a job. If you're looking for marketing, it'll be difficult. If you're for looking for like sales, literally impossible. So it really depends. If you want to do brand management and sales, be real. You're from India, and why should they hire you in the US when they have so many Americans who know the American market, who can actually have conversations with other Americans and interact with them and connect with them at a much better level than you will ever be able to do. Just like an American cannot come to India and start selling stuff. An Indian would do a much better job with it. So sales and brand management, retail, very difficult. I'm, I'm sure like someone may struggle hard and eventually be able to get something, but it'll be very difficult to get a job which sponsors your H-1B visa. For other ones, I would say product manager is a reasonably good chance you can find a job. Strategy consulting as well. These jobs do offer H-1B sponsorships. Finance, it's a bit difficult, but you can still find a good job within finance as well. The way you need to go about it is like you need to use LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and other job portals here to do that. You need to apply to all jobs, network with people. Your career services will help a bit, but at the end, it's all up to you. Um
Internships, you need to try to find an internship that eventually converts to full-time. Ideally, in my case, my internship did not convert to full-time, so I had to look for a full-time job separately. Eventually, by the time I graduated, I did not have a job at the time of graduation, but by the time I graduated in May 2018, by June, end of June, I had like 3 to 4 job offers, and they were all offering H1B sponsorship as well. So that's how it generally works. You need to apply to as many jobs as you can, network, and really depends on what area you're looking for a job. I would say product management, consulting, uh, and even finance. You should be able to eventually find a job. Uh, but more marketing focused roles, any client facing roles, sales, retail, brand management. Think about it. Like, is it really worth to come to the US, spend so much money, and then try to get a job in a market where you don't really fit? Because they have a lot of Americans who can do this. So it really depends which area you're looking for a job in.
Okay, okay. So maybe you all also know like how hard is to get into college placements in US.
As I said earlier, there isn't really like college placements. It doesn't work like that. The way, like, there would be companies who will post jobs on your college's job portal. You can apply. A lot of people would apply. If your resume fits, they'll invite you for an interview, and that's how it would work. It won't be like a mass recruitment or anything like that. Amazon is the one that generally comes, and depending on who they like, they can hire 4 or 5 individuals, 6 individuals from how many. Like, there were literally 120 people in my MBA class, and around 80 to 90 appeared for Amazon. Eventually 6 or 7 went through, which is actually quite good. For Ernst and Young, 40 to 50 people applied. Only 2 people got an interview, and one of them was me, and there were another one, and nobody made it. Nobody could get through the final round. So that's how it generally works. If they like you, they'll take as many individuals as they want. If they don't like anyone, they won't take anyone. So it really depends. It's all on you. And but yeah, don't have an unrealistic expectation that there would be. And many companies don't sponsor visas. You need to be ready for that disappointment. You'll have a conversation. You really like the company, but then they say we can't sponsor a visa, so you'll have to stop wasting your time there. You need to apply with a company that is willing to offer that H1B sponsorship. And one thing I would say about coming to the US is, try, if you're doing an MBA, try to get an MBA which is STEM accredited. So Notre Dame's MBA, ours was the last batch which was not STEM. In STEM, if it's a STEM degree, you get a 3-year work permit. So that is really good if you get a 3-year work permit. In my case, like, there was just 1-year work permit. Thankfully, I was able to transition to an H1B within 1 year. But for many others, I would always recommend doing a STEM MBA.
Okay, okay, that's great. That's great. So, with the current situation as a COVID-19 and everything, so how beneficial is it for a student to study MBA abroad right now in the USA? So, I mean, are they really getting jobs after the MBA right now? Will they be getting the jobs after this MBA?
Yeah, answer to that question is, you should do an MBA from the place where you want to build your career in, at whatever location you want. If you want to build your career in Canada, go to Canada. If you want to build your career in Germany, go to Germany. If you want to build your career in the US, go to US. But if you have dreams of going abroad and working, I would not recommend doing an MBA from India. If you're someone who's looking for to get an international experience, work with, make money in dollars and like all that stuff, and if you really want to have an international role, I would recommend. I think the MBA experience outside is way better than what the exposure and everything that you would get even at an ISB or an IIM. If given an option, um I would always recommend going abroad to do your MBA, because the experience that you will get is much better. You get to interact with people from different nationalities, and I would say it's a very positive experience. In terms of getting jobs, yes, as I said, if you're looking for product management, consulting, even finance, COVID won't have any impact. Job market have slowly opened up. You will have the same opportunities as anyone before, any batches that graduated before you would have. So COVID will not be an issue. at least not from now on. Maybe it was an issue last year when COVID just happened, because at that time this just happened out of the blue and nobody was ready for it. But now companies have planned for it, they're ready for it, so you should not worry about it.
I think that's really good to know. So we have covered most of the topic of the GMAT and the MBA and USA and everything. So last question I would like to ask you is that what are the suggestions that you would like to give to MBA or GMAT aspirants?
Sure. I mean, I would like the one thing I would every GMAT or MBA person, like the one thing they should look at is why they want to do an MBA. Do what they would do? They want to do a career switch. What's their prior experience like? Ideal time, I think, to do an MBA is about 3 to 4 years after you graduated and you have 3 to 4 years of experience. If you have more than 10, also you should look into it. Not that you cannot do an MBA, obviously, a lot of people do, but just wonder, like, what are you trying to achieve? Like, do you want a promotion, like, or do you want to build a lot of people have different reasons. Many of them want to go abroad, build their career abroad, so that's why they do it. Many individuals are doing it for a complete career switch. I want to do a career switch and I wanted to go abroad and build an international career, so those are the things that were important for me. So depending on that, like, do your preparation. I would say the Indian pool is really competitive. It's more difficult for guys. Um, like if you have seven, even for a 700 as for Indians is no longer a big deal. Like even 720, 730 is really, to be honest, it's a good score. It's a very good score, but you will have so many other Indians who will have a similar score. So you need to have that profile differentiator. And unfortunately for Indian guys who are working in IT sector, their applications at the end, that's the reason many of them get rejected. Um, or they have to go to another, like I'm not saying it in a negative way, but let's say if there was a girl with a similar profile, she will have a much better opportunity at let's say at the same school with a guy with a similar profile, because they want to have more women in their MBA classes, which is a good thing. And Yeah, so all these things matter. If you have a different kind of a background, if you've done business development or anything like that, I think that would also act as a differentiator in your profile. But yeah, these are the things you need to take care in mind, and depending on that, then decide where if you get a good GMAT score. Anything 700 plus is a good score, and if you have a good profile, like if you have a good 700, 710 as well, is a decent good score. And based on that, you can apply to different business schools. Either in India, ISB is really good. If you have more than 5 years of work experience, you can apply to IIMs, PGPX programs. uh, you can apply to business schools in Canada or Germany, Europe, or US. My personal view is that the US is the best destination for an MBA, but obviously getting the visa here is extremely difficult. Canada is a little easier. So yeah, these are things you need to take care in mind, and you need to make sure when you're preparing, don't restrict yourself. Don't put unrealistic expectations that within 3 months, someone else you may have heard got 700 after 2 months of preparation or 3 months of preparation. Everyone has different. I would suggest just say, okay, I'll start preparing for the exam. I'll give my best, and I'll assess my performance every month. Day by day basis, I'll do the critical reading section, sentence correction, and everything. I'll see how my performance is going. And once you start getting 700s in those mock GMs, when you do the Manhattan GMAT exam, you start getting good scores. That's when you should eventually apply and give the real GMAT as well. And if you've been consistently getting 700 plus in your mock exams, you should expect a 700 plus even in the real exam.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant Saxena, for the wonderful session, to be honest. I think it was very informative, and thank you for all the insights, though. And I'm really sure that, after the session, the students must have, gotten a lot of clear picture for what they need to take care of. And we're really glad that you have taken some time and explained us like what exactly it is. So it's it took a very long time. So yeah, I would like to end up this session. So thank you so much for taking some time. So
Sure.
yeah, thank you so much, Prashant.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you.
really good day. Stay safe. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye bye.